If you've played Half-Life Alyx, then you know it is an amazing game with beautiful graphics, satisfying gameplay mechanics, and an immersive campaign with well-written dialogue. Certain people, however, have different opinions about this game. One person thought it was so bad he needed to make a YouTube video about it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy while I tear apart his video. Before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Now on with the video.
Hello and welcome to this video about a video game called Half-Life Alyx. Up until recently, I've never really been interested in VR. I always thought it was kind of gimmicky, and I thought, well, after the gimmick wears off, then it would be kind of boring. But I recently decided to get myself a VR headset, and that was mainly because I saw PewDiePie play this game called Half-Life Alyx, and I thought, wow, that game looks really fun. I really want to try it.
This person is so lazy they didn't even hide their cursor while recording the gameplay footage. It's a pretty good indicator of the quality you can expect from this review video. Also, did he seriously not know about Half-Life Alyx until he watched PewDiePie play it? But I'm sure he knows what he's talking about.
So I got myself a VR headset, the HTC Vive Cosmos, and I also purchased Half-Life Alyx.
No shit.
Which cost £45.
Republic credits? Republic credits are no good out here. I need something more real.
And I guess I just feel kind of upset that I wasted so much money on a game that I don't really like. So thank you, PewDiePie, for helping me waste £45. I blame you.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
And I can't refund the game because I've played about 20 hours now. And I think after playing about 20 hours of the game, I've had enough and I don't want to play it anymore. So when I first started playing the game, I thought it was pretty cool actually.
Me too. I was astounded by the realism when I played the game for the first time. And that was on an Oculus Rift S. Just goes to show how much care was put into the game.
I was just blown away at the fact that you could pick up objects and put objects inside of objects and break objects using your fist, and it was really fun. I spent hours and hours before I actually started to play the game properly. I spent hours and hours just messing around, picking up cups and picking up bottles. But after a few hours, the whole gimmick of being able to pick up nearly anything in the game and being able to break anything in the game and being able to manipulate objects using your hands, that kind of wears off after a while.
What the fuck do you mean by play the game properly? I played through the entire campaign on the hardest difficulty setting, and I still spent plenty of time messing around with objects and breaking bottles. Being able to do that sort of thing is what sets this game apart. If you're just going to play through the game like any other shooter and not interact with the environment, then you will miss out on a lot of the game. Part of the fun is throwing stuff out windows, foraging for ammo, and smashing TVs and bottles. Doing anything repetitively for hours and hours would stop being fun after a while. That's why this game isn't called Bottle Smashing Simulator. It has a campaign and weapons and enemies to shoot.
And after I got fed up with messing around, I started to play the game properly. And unfortunately, I just found the game to be so boring. There just isn't really much to the game, apart from the VR gimmick. When you strip away the whole VR gimmick, it's basically a pretty bog standard FPS shooter that doesn't really do anything special or interesting.
You know, except for being the first ever AAA VR game with a campaign.
I feel like the gameplay feels kind of repetitive. So far, the gameplay mainly has consisted of you explore some area, you need a key to open a door, you defeat some enemies, and usually there's some stupid puzzle that you have to do. I really hate doing the puzzles. They usually involve spinning some kind of globe around, and then you have to either match up blue circles, or you have to line up a blue line so the red dots also become blue. And they're not difficult puzzles.
He says as he fails at a puzzle. Also, you explore some area, you need a key to open the door, you defeat some enemies, and usually there's some stupid puzzle you have to do. I guess games like Doom Eternal, Half-Life 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Breath of the Wild aren't anything special.
They're just kind of time consuming and kind of annoying to have to complete. I just hate it when games keep forcing you to do these stupid puzzles. I really hate puzzles in games. They're not fun, they're usually not challenging. If I wanted to do a puzzle, I'll do a jigsaw puzzle or play with my Rubik's Cube. After you've finished solving some kind of puzzle, it will let you move on to the next room or the next area, and then they usually give you a few enemies to fight. And to be honest, I don't really find the enemies to be fun to fight. Usually in games I enjoy shooting things, but in this game the enemies are just kind of boring to fight. There's this zombie kind of enemy, which is just a zombie with a big crab thing stuck to its face, and they're just so easy to take down. They're not challenging to fight at all. They're really slow and they don't really put up much of a fight.
Is it just me, or does anyone else find it really sketchy that he says the enemies aren't challenging, but he doesn't mention the difficulty he's playing at? Based on his gameplay footage, it looks like he's playing on easy. You can tell because of how long it takes for a zombie to actually swipe at him. It just stands there. Like I said, I played it on the hardest difficulty setting, and I thought the enemies were pretty challenging. It's a lot harder than it looks, because you have to actually do the motions for reloading the gun. You can't just press R like in most shooters. And when you switch weapons with the menu, time still passes, so you have to be quick about it.
The other enemies I've encountered so far are the crab things that just jump at you. They're pretty easy to take down as well, not really challenging. And then there's these things that are stuck to the ceilings, and they have like a tentacle that dangles down, and if you don't shoot them, then they suck you up.
Crab thingies? Tentacle things? Have you done zero research before making this worthless video? They're called barnacles and head crabs. Jesus Christ. I'm going to skip the next minute or so because he just repeats himself.
Also, I feel like there's way too many loading screens, and it takes ages to load the next map or the next area. I'm just sitting in my bed for minutes waiting for the loading screen to finish so I can start playing again.
This is the one point I actually agree with him. The loading screens are way too long, they cause crashes sometimes, and they occur far too frequently. Even when you want to load a quick save, it still takes forever.
But that isn't really my main problem. My main problem with the game, the biggest problem I have with this game is I cannot play it for longer than 40 or 50 minutes because it just makes me feel so sick. And I still feel sick right now after filming the game footage that you're watching right now. I really wanted to film more interesting gameplay footage, but I just couldn't play it anymore. I started to feel like I wanted to vomit. I haven't really gotten very far in the game. I got to the bit where you find your dad and then he falls down a hole and then some weird alien creature rescues him. And the reason why I haven't gotten very far in the game isn't because it's a difficult game. It's because I can't physically play it for longer than an hour, and I need to have a really long break after taking the headset off because I end up just feeling absolutely terrible. And I guess it's not really the game's fault that I feel motion sick after
No, it's not the game's fault. It's your fault for using the stick to walk around instead of using teleportation. And you didn't even finish the game? Why are you making a review if you haven't finished the game? Are you really this stupid? God, I hope he's a troll, but he sounds serious.
Playing it, and most VR games where you have to move a character around an area, they make me feel sick. There's certain games like Beat Saber and Pistol Whip that don't make me feel motion sick at all, and I think that's because there's no side-to-side turning. In games like Beat Saber and Pistol Whip, there's a lot of movement, but you're just going forwards in a straight line, so I don't really feel motion sick at all when I play those games. But unfortunately in Life Alyx, you can't just move in a straight line. You have to turn left and right. It just feels really weird having to turn left and right whilst moving backwards and forwards inside of a virtual space. It's kind of like trying to read a book inside of a moving car.
Now, I've read a book in a moving car? Are you really trying to act like turning and moving at the same time in a fucking video game is a foreign concept? Get the fuck out of here.
Now there's two ways that you can look left and right. You either physically move your head from left to right and rotate on the spot. But the problem with doing this is you end up getting tied up in the VR headset cable. It starts wrapping around you and then you have to keep readjusting the cable and stepping over it so you don't get tangled up. It's kind of the reason why I wish I got the Oculus Quest instead, which is a wireless headset.
The Oculus Quest has absolutely nothing to do with Life Alyx, so I don't know why you even brought it up. You can't even play Life Alyx without a wire to connect to your PC. Unless you want it to run like shit.
The cable just gets in the way, it's so annoying. So in order to avoid getting tangled up in the VR headset cable, and to avoid having to constantly shuffle around and rearrange the cable so it's not getting in my way, I use the right thumbstick on the controller to turn left and right, which makes me feel really, really sick. And for this reason alone, unfortunately, I have to knock 4 points off of my total rating for this game.
5 points will be taken from Gryffindor.
I would have rated it 6 out of 10 because it is a pretty cool game, looks nice, and it's just fun picking up objects and then smashing them. But because of the motion sickness and how sick it makes me feel, I'll have to bump it down to a 2 out of 10. And it's just so disappointing. I guess this is one of the limits of VR gaming, and I'm not really sure how to fix this problem. People say the more you play VR gaming, then you build up a tolerance to motion sickness, but I just feel so sick that it stops me from wanting to play the game. Even if it was a really good game, I still wouldn't want to play it just because it makes me want to vomit. So in conclusion, I don't like the game. I think I wasted £45 on something that I probably won't play again. I would not recommend Life Alyx.
So, the rest of this video is just shitty gameplay footage. All in all, this was a terrible review and I had fun roasting it. Now go watch something else.